Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered why your hair seems a little thinner than it used to be? Maybe you've brushed it and noticed more strands left behind. Or maybe your scalp feels just a little more visible than before. If you're over 60, you're certainly not alone in noticing these changes. Hair thinning is something many of us experience as we age. And while genetics play a role, there are other everyday habits quietly influencing how much hair we keep. And surprisingly, one of those habits might be hiding in your morning cup of coffee. Now, let's be clear. Coffee itself isn't the enemy. For many of us, that warm mug is a daily ritual, something that brings comfort, energy, and even a sense of joy. But the way we drink it, how often we sip it, and what we put in it can make a bigger difference than we realize, especially when it comes to keeping our hair strong and healthy in our golden years. That's why today we're going to look at some common coffee habits that could be working against your hair without you even knowing it. Think of this not as a list of things to avoid, but as gentle reminders of how small adjustments can protect your scalp and give your hair a better chance to thrive. Because after 60, the little things matter more. Your body recovers more slowly, your scalp is more delicate, and your follicles need all the support they can get. Let's start by looking at one of the habits many of us are guilty of: drinking far too much coffee throughout the day. That first cup in the morning can feel like magic, can't it? It wakes you up, sharpens your focus, and sets the tone for the day. But when one cup turns into 3, 4, or even more, especially later in the afternoon, your hair might start paying the price. Too much caffeine can interfere with your ability to fall into deep, restorative sleep. And here's the thing. Nighttime is when your body does some of its best repair work. It's when your cells regenerate, your scalp gets proper circulation, and your hair follicles get a chance to renew. If your sleep is shallow or cut short because of that extra cup of coffee at 4 p.m., your hair is missing out on critical recovery time. I remember chatting with George, a 67-year-old retired firefighter who admitted he used to keep a pot of coffee on the counter all day long. He loved the comfort of sipping it, and he thought it kept him energized. But over time, he noticed his sleep was restless, and he often woke up tired. He also realized his hair was thinning faster than he expected. Once he cut back to just 1 or 2 cups in the morning, and switched to water and herbal teas in the afternoon. Not only did his sleep improve, but he noticed less shedding in the shower. His energy actually felt steadier throughout the day because he wasn't relying on caffeine to prop him up. Beyond sleep, too much caffeine can also dehydrate your body. And dehydration doesn't just make you thirsty. It dries out your scalp, making it flaky and irritated, and it weakens the hair itself, leaving it brittle and prone to breakage. If you've ever noticed your skin feels drier as you've gotten older, think about how your scalp, being skin too, feels that effect. Pair that dryness with thin, aging hair, and you've got a recipe for more hair loss than necessary. So what's the solution? It's not about giving up your morning coffee. It's about being mindful of how much and when you drink it. For most people, limiting coffee to the earlier part of the day makes a big difference. Keeping a glass of water nearby and making sure you're drinking enough to stay hydrated is another simple way to balance out caffeine's drying effects. These small adjustments can mean better sleep, a healthier scalp, and stronger hair over time. Now let's talk about something that seems innocent enough but can actually cause more trouble than you think: adding sugar and sweet syrups to your coffee. For many of us, a plain black cup might not feel satisfying. We add a splash of flavored creamer, a spoonful of sugar, or maybe even a drizzle of caramel. It tastes good. It feels like a treat. But that sweetness has a hidden cost when it comes to your hair. Sugar creates a quick spike in your blood sugar levels, and your body responds by releasing insulin. That might not sound like a big deal, but insulin affects other hormones, particularly androgens, which can cause your hair follicles to shrink. Over time, that shrinking means thinner strands, slower growth, and eventually follicles that stop producing hair altogether. And if you've ever struggled with inflammation, maybe achy joints, puffy skin, or digestive issues, sugar makes all of that worse. Inflammation also shows up on your scalp, making it harder for blood and nutrients to reach the follicles that are still active. Let me tell you about Linda, a 70-year-old grandmother who absolutely loved her afternoon caramel latte. It was her little daily reward, something that made her feel special. But over the years, she started noticing her scalp was itchy and her hair seemed less full. When she finally talked to a nutritionist, they pointed out her sugar habit. She switched to lighter options, sometimes just cinnamon sprinkled into her coffee, other times a splash of milk with a natural sweetener like stevia. Within months, her energy improved and her hair looked noticeably healthier. She still got to enjoy her coffee ritual, but without the hidden damage. This isn't about never enjoying sweetness again. It's about choosing ways to flavor your coffee that don't work against your body. Spices like cinnamon, nutmeg, or even vanilla extract can add warmth and depth without the sugar crash. And as you get used to drinking less sugar, your taste buds adjust, and you might even start to prefer the natural taste of your coffee. The point is, little changes in your coffee routine, cutting back on caffeine later in the day, finding alternatives to sugar, can add up to real differences in your hair health. It's not about perfection. It's about being kind to yourself and your body, giving your scalp the best chance to keep your hair as strong and vibrant as possible. We've already talked about how too much coffee and too much sugar can quietly work against your hair. But there's another habit that often sneaks into daily life, especially as routines change with age. That's when coffee starts replacing actual meals. It might seem harmless at first. Maybe you don't feel hungry in the morning, so you pour yourself a big cup of coffee instead of eating breakfast. Or maybe lunch feels like too much effort, so you sip on another cup to get through the afternoon. Over time, though, this pattern leaves your body running on empty. And here's the truth. Your hair is one of the first things to suffer when you're not giving your body the nutrition it needs. Your follicles are made up of living cells that require a steady supply of protein, iron, vitamin B12, vitamin D, and omega-3 fatty acids. These are the building blocks that keep your hair growing, thick, and resilient. When coffee takes the place of meals, you're essentially starving those follicles. Without proper nutrition, they weaken, shrink, and eventually stop producing strong strands. And it's not just about nutrients. When your body is underfed, stress hormones like cortisol rise, creating a cycle that further damages your hair. I think of Robert, a 71-year-old retired bus driver who used to joke that coffee was his breakfast and lunch. He would skip meals, sipping his way through the day, and didn't think much of it because he still felt energized. But he noticed his hair thinning more rapidly than his friends of the same age. When his doctor encouraged him to add even small, nutrient-dense snacks, like a smoothie, some yogurt with berries, or a handful of nuts. Alongside his coffee, he was surprised at how quickly he felt the difference. Within months, not only did he feel more stable energy, but his hair shedding slowed and his scalp looked healthier. The lesson is simple. Coffee can give you a temporary lift, but it can't replace the vitamins and minerals your hair depends on. If eating a full meal feels overwhelming, think small. A slice of whole grain toast with peanut butter, a boiled egg, or even a piece of fruit is enough to give your body something to work with. Pairing that with your coffee keeps your scalp nourished and your energy steady throughout the day. Now let's shift to another habit that seems innocent but can quietly chip away at the health of your hair: drinking coffee on an empty stomach. For many people, that morning cup is the very first thing they reach for, sometimes even before brushing their teeth. It feels comforting and familiar, but your body reacts in ways you might not expect. When you drink coffee without eating anything first, your cortisol levels, the body's main stress hormone, spike. Cortisol plays a powerful role in how your body manages energy, but when it stays elevated too often, it diverts resources away from non-essential processes like hair growth. Your follicles end up deprived of nutrients and blood flow, which can lead to weaker, thinner hair. As we get older, when the scalp naturally heals and regenerates more slowly, that extra stress becomes even harder to overcome. There's also the issue of digestion. Coffee stimulates stomach acid, and when your stomach is empty, that acid has nothing to work on but your own lining. Not only can this cause discomfort, but it also interferes with your ability to absorb crucial nutrients like biotin, iron, and zinc, nutrients that directly feed your hair. So while you may be enjoying that quiet moment with your mug, your hair may be paying the price. Margaret, a 73-year-old retired librarian I once spoke with, had a lifelong routine of sipping coffee before breakfast. She loved the peace of those early minutes with her cup. But over time, she noticed her hair was shedding more than usual. Her doctor suggested something simple: eat a small bite of food before that first sip. She started keeping oatmeal muffins in the freezer and would warm one up before pouring her coffee. Within a few weeks, her hair shedding slowed, and she felt steadier energy throughout the morning. The change doesn't have to be dramatic. Even a banana, a slice of toast, or a handful of almonds before your coffee can help blunt that cortisol surge and protect your scalp. It's a small act of care that gives your body a chance to absorb and use nutrients properly while still allowing you to enjoy your ritual. When you put these two habits together, skipping meals and drinking coffee on an empty stomach, you start to see how important context really is. Coffee itself can be part of a healthy life, but when it replaces nourishment or arrives without support, your hair ends up being one of the first things to show the effects. By giving your body what it needs alongside your cup, you're protecting not just your scalp, but your overall well-being. We've already uncovered how too much coffee, too much sugar, skipped meals, and drinking on an empty stomach can quietly undermine the health of your hair. But there's one more habit that deserves attention. And it's one many people overlook because it feels so convenient: relying on instant or low-quality coffee. Now, I know instant coffee has its appeal. It's quick, it's easy, and it often feels less expensive. For some, it becomes a daily staple. But not all coffee is created equal. And when it comes to your hair, the difference in quality really matters. Many cheaper or instant varieties are processed in ways that strip them of beneficial antioxidants, compounds that help fight the free radicals responsible for aging, inflammation, and cell damage. Without those protective antioxidants, your scalp and follicles are left more vulnerable to stress, and that stress shows up in the form of thinning or brittle hair. On top of that, instant coffee can contain higher levels of acrylamide, a chemical formed during the roasting process. While research is still ongoing, acrylamide has been linked to oxidative stress in the body. Think of oxidative stress as a kind of slow rusting of your cells, including the ones that fuel hair growth. Over time, it weakens the follicles, making it harder for them to produce strong, vibrant strands. And in some lower-quality products, fillers, preservatives, or even chemical residues sneak in, which can contribute to inflammation in sensitive individuals. An inflamed scalp doesn't circulate blood or nutrients as well, and when circulation slows, follicles weaken. I remember Evelyn, a 76-year-old retired nurse, who told me she switched to instant coffee because it was easier than brewing a fresh pot each morning. She figured coffee was coffee, and it couldn't make much difference. But after a couple of years, she noticed her hair losing its shine and becoming noticeably thinner. When she eventually switched back to freshly ground coffee from a reputable roaster and kept her intake moderate, she was amazed to see her hair regain some luster and strength. It wasn't an overnight miracle, but it was a steady improvement that reminded her how much quality matters. Choosing better coffee doesn't mean you have to become a coffee snob or spend a fortune. It's about being mindful of what you're putting into your body. Just like we've learned to choose fresh vegetables over canned ones, or whole grains over processed flour. Choosing higher quality coffee can make a subtle but real difference in your health. Even if it's just one good cup in the morning, brewed with care, you're giving your hair and your whole body something richer and more supportive than a quick powder stirred into hot water. When you look at all 5 habits together, a clear picture emerges. It's not coffee itself that threatens your hair. It's how and when you drink it, what you add to it, whether it replaces real nourishment, and the quality of the beans you choose. Each cup is a choice, and those choices add up over time. After 60, when your hair is naturally more vulnerable, these little adjustments can be the difference between continuing to lose volume and holding on to the strength and beauty you still have. So here's the uplifting part. You don't have to give up something you love. You don't have to surrender your morning ritual or feel guilty about enjoying your favorite drink. Instead, you can simply shift your habits in small, thoughtful ways. Drink your coffee earlier in the day and pair it with water to protect your sleep and hydration. Flavor it with spices or natural alternatives instead of sugar to keep hormones balanced. Enjoy it alongside nourishing meals so your follicles have what they need to grow. Eat a little something before your first sip to protect your scalp from stress. And when possible, choose better quality beans that bring both flavor and antioxidants to your cup. These aren't dramatic changes. They're gentle acts of self-care, a way of honoring your body and your hair in this stage of life. Because your hair isn't just about appearance. It's about how you feel when you look in the mirror, the confidence you carry when you walk into a room, and the joy of seeing vitality reflected back at you. Remember, small shifts in your daily routine can create powerful results over time. Every sip is a chance to either drain your body or nourish it. And when you choose the latter, your hair, your health, and your spirit will thank you. If you found these insights helpful, I'd love to hear from you. Share in the comments which of these coffee habits you recognize in yourself and what small change you'd like to try first. Your stories not only inspire me, but they also encourage others in our community. And if you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to Strong Elderly Life for more conversations that help you live healthier, stronger, and happier in your golden years. Here's to every cup of coffee being a step toward more vibrant health and more confidence in the years ahead. You deserve it.